Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Vincent Williams, and I'm joined as always by my partner.
Hey, holla at your boy. This is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble.
And here, the second week of the greatest of all Micheaux months, OCTAVIA April, we will be spending time with a film from 2021 that I think had a bit of a muted response. Unfortunately, the pandemic, I think, kind of gobbled up a lot of the attention this would have gotten. Needle in a Timestack, written and directed by John Ridley and starring Leslie Odom Jr. and Cynthia Erivo, the choice of Lynn Webb.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Vincent, how about yourself?
Chilling, cold chilling, maxing, relaxing.
Shout out to each and every one of you who are out there watching us as we stream live from Yunk Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace in the Manayunk section of Philadelphia. And we're streaming live to all points north, south, east, and west, which means Twitter, which means Facebook, which means YouTube. And shout out to each and every one of you out there in the chat. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
Oh, and I'm seeing in the chat a very special hello to my good friend Terry, who hits me up, Vincent, I swear like clockwork, every week after the show. Mm-hmm. Did I miss it again?
Did I miss it again? We're a moving target.
Yes.
We're a moving target.
She has timed it correctly.
All right.
Here at the start of the show.
Slide in like Eddie Kane Jr. Beginning to 5 heartbeats.
Amen. Amen. All right, so before we get into the show and all of our special features, ladies and gentlemen, we would be remiss if we did not take a moment to pay our condolences to the friends and family of the recently departed O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson, who had friends and family.
He did. He did indeed.
Regardless of your feelings about the man, you know.
You cannot knock his athletic accomplishments.
No.
Nor to a degree his acting career, because he did have a acting career. But he is certainly more of an infamous name at this juncture in 2024. But O.J. Simpson passed away recently at the age of 76 years old after battling cancer. Vincent, you're not like a really big sports guy. That's historic here on the mission. No. But, you know, a movie, TV buff, especially of the 70s and 80s. So you definitely were there in the heyday of O.J. Simpson.
Well, you said the sports accomplishment. It's funny. I was having a conversation. One of my best friends was out of the country all through the 70s. His dad was a diplomat. And he and I talked about our O.J. Simpson was the cultural figure.
Okay.
So I remember, I'm sure you remember, there was a comic ad throughout the 80s for Dingo Boots, where he was O.J. Dingo.
I seem to remember that. Yeah.
And then certainly, I've mentioned one of my favorite conspiracy films. Is Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
That he's in, and then, you know, the Naked Gun work he did. And so that was my O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
You know, like I knew.
And that was a lot of people's O.J. Simpson. A lot of people of our generation. Because the generation before, because, you know, let's not knock it. He was a record-breaking athlete.
Sure.
You know, otherworldly in some of his accomplishments in college football and especially in pro football in the later 60s and early part of the 70s. So he got his bona fides on the playing field. But then he made the shift to acting, like a lot of athletes do, especially athletes who, you know, if you're lucky enough to be a fairly attractive black man.
Oh, yeah.
And he made the move. I only recently, in recent years, fell into Capricorn 1. And it is an interesting movie.
It's not a good movie.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Let's be clear. It's more interesting than good.
Yes. Okay. You know, don't go running out.
All right, but easy.
Yeah, I ain't going to say that at all. But my OJ was, like he was in the Naked Guns, but Naked Guns, he was to a degree kind of like making fun of himself a little bit.
Right. Which apparently the joke, which I didn't find out till after the fact, was that he was so nimble as a football player.
Right. And which he
the
was.
The joke of him being clumsy was the joke.
Right. Because you're mentioning about, the OJ Dingoes for generations, and you probably just didn't mention it, didn't think of it. When we think about OJ in a more commercial sense,
right, literally,
right, it's Hertz Rent-A-Car,
right,
running through the airport, and leaping over like tall bags of luggage,
right, like a
single
three-piece suit,
and looking smooth doing it, man.
Yeah.
And he was, and he put Hertz Rent-A-Car, he put on the map.
Yeah,
that was my OJ.
Right, but as you said, the past 20, 30 years, I think, again, he really is.
There is the last couple of generations.
Yeah.
They're OJ.
Right, they're OJ. And it's been fascinating hearing people who weren't there.
Yeah.
Not really understanding how big of a deal this murder trial was.
Oh, I mean, because every inch of it was like, and you got to remember, this was the days, there's no internet.
No.
There's no social media.
No.
Like there was they broke into live television everywhere. And it wasn't the president.
No.
It wasn't even to a degree O.J. Simpson. It was just video of his white Bronco.
Yeah.
Driving up the road.
Yeah.
And it was all across the country, and you could not look away because
right.
you didn't know what was going to happen.
And, I have to say, as we're in the midst of Donald Trump, in court every day, but
yeah,
it's so easy to not pay attention to it. I think that may have been the last, that's one of the last vestiges of that singular cultural event.
Yes. You're absolutely right.
That we all kind of shared in, everyone remembers. You're talking about the Bronco chase. You remember when the verdict came out,
which is a year later.
So it was a whole year.
Yep.
Where just as a cultural event, and you don't want to lose track of the fact that two people lost their lives, but there was this weird disconnect where we were talking about two people had lost their lives, but it was this circus. Like it was an actual circus. It was there were bit players who got their own little thing, and it was a cultural moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the ugly part about it is that on the other side of the cultural moment, this guy who was used to being like one of the most popular people in the world, he started to kind of like lean a little bit into that ugly stuff. Remember when he threatened to come out with a book talking about, what if I had done it or whatever.
The whole thing was just surreal. It was just surreal. And not for nothing, it's worth noting, it's sort of like, let's just call it what it is. It's sort of like how the firestorm around Bill Cosby. Like the barely subtext was that these were white people's favorite black people.
Oh, yeah.
And they had done this. Like if Jim Brown had been accused of double murder, it would not have been the veracity in the fire around it, because Jim Brown was Jim Brown, and O.J. Simpson had sort of positioned himself from the very beginning,
very intentionally,
as the anti-Jim Brown. As he famously said, I'm not black.
Yep.
I'm O.J.
Yep.
So that when O.J. Simpson is, and then you think about everything that was happening with the LAPD and how Johnny Cochran masterfully brought that to the fore, and it was just this perfect storm.
Did you ever see the the 5-part documentary.
Oh,
OJ in America.
What I was going to land on as somebody who lived through it and had said, I don't need to hear any OJ anything ever again. I watched the Ryan
Johnson.
Not Ryan
Johnson. I know what you're talking about the docudrama.
Right. The docudrama with Courtney B. Vance and Sterling K. Brown and Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah,
which was fantastic. And then, frankly, people start talking about this ESPN documentary about it, which is hands down one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life.
Yes,
and I recommend it to everyone.
Everyone,
if you think you know everything about the trial. You don't
know nothing. You don't know. And if you think, how are they going to stretch this out to 5 parts? Easy.
It could have been 10 parts.
It could have been 10 parts, and you would have been there for every single one. And just like you said, the where this story of O.J. Simpson himself, the man, and then this whole murder and the trial, where all of that intersects with being black in America, or being black in the world. Yeah, it is all covered in that documentary. It's so masterful. I mean, like like you said, it could be a master course on how to do a documentary,
right? And to make it relevant to us. I always think about the like the first couple of episodes where they talk about the LAPD standing and how what we've come to call propaganda.
Yep.
Which I think may have come from this documentary.
Would not be surprised.
You know, this articulation of the fact that these television shows that sort of valorize the police, basically CBS's programming. Corrupt police have used that to kind of serve as cover for their misdeeds. And, I think about the fact that the woman who, I think I think she was a DA, who railroaded the Central Park 5. They used her as the consultant or the creator, maybe, of Law and Order.
Yes.
So that I always think about that.
She was a consultant on that.
Right. But it was because of this O.J. Simpson documentary that, you really see, the power of these shows and how they can very easily turn into something that can be corrupted. But O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson.
Well, like you said, he did have friends.
Look.
He did have family.
Look.
And our condolences to them.
What I've always wished is for everyone to get some measure of peace.
Yeah.
So
hopefully you find yours. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our show, which means that we're going to hear from each and every one of you.
All right.
As we listen to your emails, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries. So what else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries, ladies and gentlemen. Vincent, I have the first one here. It is from Michael Sykes.
What's up, Michael?
It says in the subject line, "The Red Fox Stories. Norman, is that you?"
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Len and Vincent. I listened to your podcast episode of Norman, Is That You? That episode was so good, I listened to it 3 times and still counting.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Vincent, you said,
okay.
And he quotes,
okay.
So many people have these stories about Red Fox. There are tons, like Lena Horne has a story about the episode where she came and taped her episode of Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
I don't know if Lena Horne ever spoke to him again. He was really crass with Lena Horne.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite episodes from season 2.
Yes.
Along with Rated X, Card Sharps, and Lamont Goes African.
Yes. Yeah.
Please, Vincent,
Yes.
let me know what happened between Lena Horne and Red Fox. What are the stories that you heard that happened between these two, or Red Fox generally, just about his show? Love, your fan, Michael Sykes.
This was either because I cited the biography of Red Fox, but this may have been in Lena Horne's biography too, where for those of you who don't know, Lena Horne was a guest on an episode of Sanford and Son where she plays herself.
Right, and the reason why she's playing herself on there is because of how the character Fred Sanford,
right, love Lena Horne. Like everybody, love Lena Horne, and the important thing is that she was on there. But apparently, I don't know, he was just really crass, talking about what he wanted to do with her and what he would do with her, and this, that, and the Red Fox dynamic, I think, really comes from the fact that I think he was a working comedian. Like, he had been a working comedian since the 40s and 50s, kind of a hustler. The famous story is that he was, I think he was Chicago Red was his nickname, because they didn't want to confuse him with Detroit Red,
right,
who was Malcolm X. So then, he becomes a comedian, this and that. But when you look at Red Fox's career, he becomes famous a little later in life.
Yeah, of course.
So he's always kind of on the fringes, the Chitlin circuit, this, that, and other. He's seeing people around him being famous, but then he becomes famous. And you get the sense that he had this kind of bitterness. He had this sort of, he was keeping score from when he wasn't famous.
Yeah.
And I think the dynamic between him and Lena Horne, Lena Horne has been Lena Horne since the 40s. So for Red Fox and Lena Horne, he kind of was real disrespectful, frankly. Just sort of disrespectful. And I think I talked about in the episode with how did I just forget my girl's name?
I don't know which one.
Who's in Norman Is That You? Plays his wife. I've got Ruby D in my head, but that's not right.
Yeah, it's not. Oh no, it's not.
That's not Ruby D.
It's not Ruby D. Hold on. I'll get it for you. Norman.
Looking right at her. Pearl Bailey. So, Pearl Bailey talks about having these run-ins with him. And again, I think that kind of cohort of those Chitlin circuit acts in the 70s kind of mashed up against.
Well, I mean, the word on the street is that Red definitely was feeling himself.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
The thing is that because of how popular he is at that moment, and because of where Sanford and Son is in the ratings. I mean, it's the number one show.
Yeah.
Number one show for like 3-4 seasons.
That's right.
In a row. There are people, like what happens when you're a star, they cover for you, and I've seen DeMont Wilson, who, say what you want about him, maybe career-wise or talent-wise, he was the other part of that show.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mince any words. Like, I like working with Red, but Red was him, and I did me.
I mean, the sort of crossover success that she has, she acknowledges that it is 100% because of Red Fox. But LaWanda Page talks about the complexity of working with Red Fox as the show went on and it got more popular. So, again, he's a complicated dude. I do have to say, Michael, you named some good episodes, but I do have to give you a demerit because you did not name the best episode of Sanford and Son, which would, of course, be Mama's Baby, Papa's Maybe.
Is that season 2?
I'm not sure which season that is, but that is, of course, the season with Big Money Grip, with the swivel hip.
Right. in Michael's defense, that may not be season 2, and he was naming season 2.
He was naming season 2
episodes.
Mama's Baby. What, you got the phone out now? You got to look it up. What season is Mama's Baby? Papa's Maybe, where Big Money Grip with the swivel hit comes in and says that he is Lamont's birth father because he was dating Elizabeth before Fred.
Let's see.
Then he went off into the army and then came back on leave and thought that was when the child was conceived. But then there's a plot twist.
Isn't there always? That is season 3.
Season 3. Does that have the writer on that? Who wrote that episode?
Lunga Adele, Ray Galton, and it looks like it was multiple.
Okay.
It's 4 writers on here.
Okay.
Lunga Adele, Ray Galton, Alan Simpson, Norman Lear.
Okay.
Or Norman Lear's uncredited.
Sure.
So there you go. All right, Michael, thank you for your
Yes,
email.
Mike, we're going to get off of Sanford and the Son.
We got an email from Nick Nicholas
Hey, what's up, Nick?
reflecting on early 90s black movies.
Okay. All right.
Hello to the men of the Micheaux Mission. Sorry for the late emails. I hope you both are doing well. Before I get to the initial post, I recommend Vince read The Spike Lee Reader by Paula Massoud because he is a Spike Lee fanatic.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I do like a book suggestion.
There you go.
So
The month of April for me is black coming of age movies. Or Nick. I watched Dope over a week ago, and I rewatched Just Another Girl on the IRT, the first movie of its kind. After rewatching the movie, I came out with both an observation and a question. My observation is that Just Another Girl on the IRT, along with other movies like Boomerang, Strictly Business, A Rage in Harlem, and The Five Heartbeats, came out during the sort of hood movie explosion of the early 90s. Although Boomerang was a box office hit, it was met with mixed reviews from critics, particularly white ones. I felt like if those movies did not fall under Boys in the Hood, Juice, New Jack City, or even Jungle Fever to a certain extent, people did not really give it attention or it went under the radar. The early 90s for black cinema, while booming, felt like only a particular genre could thrive, which was the hood and gritty movies. People who were non-black in most cases were interested in these often violent, traumatic movies and barely paid attention to movies paid attention to movies where I think what he's trying to say that did not fit that description. I'm making sense what he wrote. Not saying that the aforementioned movies are not great, but I do feel like movies such as Just Another Girl, Boomerang, Strictly Business, Rage in Harlem, all felt like anomalies and went a different route than what was popular at the time. I could definitely see that.
yeah, absolutely.
I can see that. A question that lingered in my mind that could be a discussion point is, do you think we will ever see a movie like Just Another Girl from the IRT in mainstream media? Just Another Girl is a movie that defied stereotypes on black girls. The main character, Chantel, was given agency and she was not a one-note character. Notice how her pregnancy did not overshadow the movie. While Just Another Girl hit on issues still discussed today, it was a vibrant and fun movie. Like Leslie Harris said before, it was a film Hollywood did not want to portray. I say this because while it did gain a cult following for the years to come, this movie is still seen as underground and almost forgotten by people who are not black. While I am happy that black women directors are thriving like Cassie Lemons, Cheryl Dunye, and Dee Rez, I really hope that those black women directors mentioned or anyone in general can give us a film of a black girl just living life without trauma and just being herself. But in my opinion, I don't think we will as much as I want to. What do you guys think? Nick.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the landscape is?
Well, I think the landscape is open for that type of project, I just don't think that. I think the beautiful thing about, since Just Another Girl, with streaming, there are more outlets for these type of projects, and thus with these outlets, you then have. It doesn't just have to be a movie.
Right.
Because I'm immediately thinking about Insecure and just the other works of Issa Rae. Because her TV show Rap Shit was basically about two girls.
Sure. Although they got canceled.
It did get canceled. And then there's another show that's on, I believe it's Amazon, Harlem. It's about four girls.
Yeah. I mean, those are older. Those are women.
Well, yes. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think that it can happen. I want to say that it did happen. I'm just trying to. It's hard for me to pull one.
I mean, this is.
It was interesting that the protagonist of the most recent, one of the protagonists of the most recent Transformers movie was a black girl who was. Well, she actually was older, but she was playing younger.
I can't pull the name out. It's going to be awkward because Dorian's going to be here in a few weeks. What was Dorian and Simone's movie?
The Jin.
Jin. I think Jin fits into this.
That does. You know what?
Yeah, I think Jin.
That does, and
very neatly.
Very neatly. Yeah, Jin does fit into that. And it's a good movie. You have to look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Look up The Jinn, DJINN, and then after the first movie that comes up, look again, because the first movie that comes up is going to be a horror film. This is not a horror film. This is about a young Muslim teenage girl. So you got to look down. Maybe look up The Jinn, and
it's just Jin.
Well, it's all right, Jin, but it's spelled.
You're doing like Django.
Sorry. Well, I'm saying that so people spell it correctly. That's mostly why I'm saying it. Because they'll look up Jin.
The D is silent.
The D is silent. The D is silent. But
and I mean, I'm shocked. You didn't say your beloved Pariah.
The only reason I didn't say Pariah is because he mentioned D-Res.
Okay, all right.
So I'm figuring that he already was already
right. I know every time you get a chance to talk about Pariah.
True, but here's the thing about Pariah, though. Pariah's already 15 years old.
Yeah,
it's already like another another generation earlier.
True. I agree. I think. I have to say, I don't feel hopeful for the art house film culture generally.
Yeah, but Just Another Girl. See, the thing, Just Another Girl wasn't an art house.
Yeah, but it
played there because it was underground.
Right. But it would have been an art house film, except that we don't usually grant black films art house film status.
Yeah.
Like, it was a small film. It was on, not that many screens. Like, I remember, because I saw it in the theater, and it was at one of these small film houses where I saw it. And I just don't know. I don't know what that ecosystem looks like going forward, frankly. Like, unless you're in New York, unless you're in Los Angeles, I mean, here in Philadelphia, I think we're like breathing on fumes with that. Like, you think about where you can go see a small film here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's few and far between.
And this is a big city. Like I said, you leave New York and Los Angeles, I think things get a little shaky.
Yeah. Shout out to the Philadelphia Film Society.
Absolutely, 100%.
They keep the small films,
yeah,
and they keep it in a prominent place, not like hunkered down like in Old City Philadelphia, which is like you got to travel to.
Right.
The Philadelphia Film Society, they man a top of the line theater right in the heart of Center City, Philadelphia, where they have all types of films coming back and forth through there, pulling back films from yesteryear to replay them on the big screen. So shout out to them. They're doing great work. Yeah, you saying it's not hopeful. I don't know. But We shall see.
We shall see.
Thank you, Nick, for the email.
Thank you, Nick.
We got an email from Terry Plain.
What's up, Terry?
Hello, Vincent and Len. Wow, what a zeitgeist moment. I was about to comment on Len's recent top 5 of Afrofuturism books ready for a movie. Mm-hmm. And I found a similar email from last year that I sent that had a few recommendations. Len, you were on the mark for Dread Nation. I'm familiar with most of the other authors you mentioned, so it was a solid list. And yes, N.K. Jemisin and M.D. Okorafor are the reigning queens. Mm-hmm. I am really excited over the buzz of Tommy Adeyemi, Children of the Blood and Bone trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too.
Yeah.
Other Afrofuturism titles I recommend are Nicole Glover's The Conductors and Leslie Penelope, The Monsters We Defy. I feel like somebody told me about The Monsters We Defy.
The Conductors is on my pile of books right now.
You've got a big pile.
Well, you know, I do new fiction, old fiction, nonfiction.
That you have individual piles?
Right. That's how I read. I read new fiction, old fiction, nonfiction, and I start back up again.
So where are you in this cycle?
I just started Crack is King by Donovan Ramsey. It's nonfiction, and it is excellent.
Nice.
It's about the crack. Well, it's about the crack era.
Nice.
And then, so I have new fiction next. I guess I could read The Conductors.
Do you just
But if
grab
I'm being
from the book, the pile?
You know, it's supposed to be a pile, but you know, I cheat a little bit. I'm probably going to read some Colson Whitehead next.
Okay.
But it's on my pile, and I've heard nothing but good things about The Conductors.
Terry continues.
Did I say Donovan or Duncan? I think it's Donovan Ramsey.
Okay.
When Crack was King. It's excellent.
The book that still chills me the most is Underground Airlines.
Yeah.
That explores the question, what would present-day America look like if the Civil War never happened?
Yeah.
Where 4 states in the South still practice the involuntary enslavement of people of color and bounty hunters work like the FBI. Whoa.
Yeah. Heard about that.
Now, let me ask you something. And Terry, shouts out, keep up the great work. Onward to 400. Thank you, Terry. If you heard that this book, The Underground Airlines, was being adapted into work, how would you feel about that?
I am the wrong person to ask because I am fundamentally against the alternate history, what if slavery never ended? Because just the on the ground facts of slavery, it's no way to make slavery continue. You know, if we do 1865, just with the advent of technology and everything, like maybe you could have tacked on another 20 years. Just the facts on the ground, you know, the cotton gin and everything and what was going on kind of globally with shipping. It just wasn't a viable model, so that every time we have those, what if slavery never ended, what I always get to is it's just, you just want to make it like something about slavery. Like it's actually one of my little bugaboos, like the what if slavery never ended conceit if it goes past 1885. So I'm the wrong person to ask. Apparently, because I've thought about it. I mean, look, we're nerds and I'm black. So I've been thinking about black nerd shit. And it's always, what if the Nazis won World War II? Or what if slavery never ended? Like those are all, you know, those are the big two ones. So we've kind of dealt with those a lot. I've said this before, it's because we're here. The best what if the Confederacy won the Civil War that I've ever read, it was this little comic series from the 80s called Captain Confederacy that was set during modern times. And they basically, the Confederacy won the war, and then we just sort of were at a, you know, it was 2 countries. But, you know, like I said, slavery is going to end in 20 years anyway. just because of the logistics of slavery, but then it kind of dealt with the repercussions of what that looks like, though. So, you know, black people still had sort of second class citizenship, but like World War I went a different way because America couldn't get involved, and because World War I went a different way, World War II happened, kind of.
Right.
And because World War II didn't happen the way World War II was supposed to happen, America, like, the 20th century wasn't the American century. So, like, it was just this really thought out series. And then it had this wonderful kind of bibliography after each issue where it had all of these history books.
Oh, okay.
And because of that, that's why I'm like, anytime you have, it was 2020, slaves are still in the fields in Louisiana. It's like, that just doesn't make sense.
True,
So,
but I mean,
you know, like, that's why I'm so glad that HBO thing fell apart immediately.
yeah.
Because, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Sorry, you probably weren't looking for that answer.
No, I mean, I'm looking for your honest answer.
Yeah. That's my, like, 'cause I remember when Underground Airlines came out, like, I had it in my hand and I rolled my eyes and I said, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Okay, so you didn't read it.
Yeah, I didn't read it.
Okay.
Like, intentionally. So
Fair enough.
So I haven't read it. Maybe they deal with it.
Maybe they deal with
Maybe there's no cotton gin.
or maybe slavery looks different.
Maybe it looks different.
That's because I would imagine, because I hear you.
But why?
As the model.
Right, but I'm saying, why do you have them? Like what is sort of what is the purpose besides just sort of you okay, we're because we can go down this road, because now we get to whiteness. Like, is it like, are we just propping up poor white people, which is always part of it? Like, okay, well, we're propping up poor white. Well, what's that look like though? Like, how do you maintain white people in their jobs? Like, it was always a balancing act. Like, you know, we're going to prop up poor white people, but we also can't have the slave labor take poor white people's jobs, but so much, because then poor white people get angry about that. And like, it's a whole,
Yeah. But maybe
like, oftentimes when people do the Civil War, the South won the Civil War and it's still slaves, nobody really thinks about that. Like, nobody thinks about this stuff. They just want to have some black people being slaves with iPhones. Which I don't know. I've not read this book. I don't know. I didn't read the book. I don't know.
Did you read The Man in the High Castle?
I didn't, nor did I watch it.
Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the show.
I've heard good things about it.
All right. Thank you, Terry, for your email. We got one more email, Vincent. This is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, Michael.
What's up, my brothers? A very quick aside.
Okay.
I've added another review on iTunes and have been running my mission recruitment office.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate
More
it.
cinema troops are heading to the front lines of Black American cinema. I urge any other regular listener to do the same to help the podcast. Michael said to repeat this part. I urge any other regular listener to do the same and run a Micheaux Mission recruitment office to help the podcast. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
I listened to the critique and rewatched The Book of Eli. I must admit that I always forget about this Denzel flick when I am thinking about his filmography. It's a really fun film. I believe he has a good time with it, as it's a departure from what he usually gets to do, much in the same vein as The Magnificent Seven, which you should review if you haven't. We have not
We have
yet.
not. I haven't seen it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see it.
Wow, you're a huge Western guy.
I love Westerns. I love Denzel Washington.
How often do you get to see one on the big screen?
I know. It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup just sitting there.
Yeah, it's Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt.
Look, there are other people in the film.
There's other people in the movie too.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah. You should. Well, it'll be coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that. On my time travels, I listen to and watch Sweetback's Badass Song.
Lynn's favorite film of all time.
Sweet Jesus, I haven't heard you two go at it like this on any other movie. The back and forth made me think of the Iron Sheik giving an interview on NWA Wrestling and being blindsided by Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, that's a good pull.
My God.
Now that's my wrestling right there.
Oh my God. You both made great points, but Vince, like myself, is willing to put films in the context of their time and influence then. I find myself unable to laugh at many comedies from the 60s, the 2010s, because I find myself unable to laugh at many comedies from the 60s to the 2010s because I initially judged them unfairly from my present vantage point. It's easy to pick Sweetback apart from a 2024 vantage point, but in the context of 1971, it put in some vital work for black cinema. All the best, Michael. Sure, it did.
Here we go.
But you also did not have to use your son in a movie where your young son is laying naked and
engaged in a sex act.
Basically engaged in a sex act.
Yes. You are right. He didn't have to do that.
There is no artistic value to that casting or that scene at all to the movie. It is one of, I mean, and I'm, like gratuity is gratuity. And sometimes depending on your lens, you can go with a little bit of gratuity.
Sometimes you want to see a titty.
But like to use a child
Use a child at all.
Use a child at all in that situation is, I don't care what year it is.
Oh, I don't know. It was a lot, 71.
I don't care. It's still not cool.
Right.
But then the fact that it is your son, because I guarantee he would not have put his daughter in a similar situation. If that was his daughter of the same age, he would have not put his daughter in that situation.
I don't know.
No, I want to give him the benefit of a doubt that he wouldn't.
Melvin was a wild dude.
And I don't think it would have played the same way.
Well, I mean,
and if it did play the same way at that time,
I mean, that's a whole different dynamic though with a girl.
It's a whole different, but I'm just talking about a child. Boy or girl, it doesn't matter.
Sure. I mean, you do. I mean,
it's a different dynamic, but it's still a child.
Yes, it's still a child. But look, right now we have people who talk about, oh, I had sex with my babysitter when I was 12 or 13. Like right now, we have a difficult time acknowledging that a heterosexual experience for an underage boy is abuse. Like right now, at this exact second, 2024, people, because I know that you, like just statistically, I know that you know men. Like statistically, I know that you know men. And
yes,
statistically, if you know men, you know at least 2 dudes who had sex with somebody older than them when they were like 12.
Yes.
And how many times have you said, you know what, that 16-year-old girl, that 17-year-old girl, that was abuse?
No, I understand that.
Okay. And I'm saying that, so like in 1971,
yeah,
it was wrong. But let's not act like it's not some context there where the sort of overriding opinion was, oh, okay, good for the young boy. Like, it was wrong, but, let's not act like he was an outlier.
I'm not acting like he was an outlier. I'm just saying that in this movie that people want to kneel down on the altar for what it meant for the culture at the time.
Yes.
The fact that you can excise this scene totally out of the movie.
Look, yes.
And whatever value the rest of you are still getting from this movie, it's still there. It doesn't change the calculus at all.
Yes.
It's icky. And
I'm not sure who you're fighting with. I don't think anyone's fighting for 8-year-old Mario Van Peebles to be.
But you're talking, but y'all
like,
talking about looking at it in the context of its time.
Yes.
So I'm looking at it in the context of its time as just making a movie and writing a story. It doesn't have any place in the movie.
I mean,
so it's gratuitous.
It's where you got his name from.
But then if you're going to be gratuitous,
like I mean, it is part of the plot. Like it is actually part of the plot. Like he says, "Ooh, you got a sweet back." Like that's actually how the movie starts. It's not like it just shows him, and then the film pans over, and it's a dude, and they call him Sweetback. I mean, you know.
All right, thank you.
Look.
Got me started off.
You know, apparently, Melvin took your cookie when you were 12. It's like. Everybody keep a list of Lynn's enemies. Melvin Van Peebles, Play. It's like the most random, bizarre-ass collection of people that he has a fatwa.
That is our emails.
I don't like Buttercup. You don't like the Powerpuff Girls? No, just Buttercup, and she knows why. It's like, okay, all right, sure, don't bring up Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls. All right, sure. All right, go ahead.
That was the blonde, right?
Hey, man, look. I just ride with you.
That was the blonde.
I'm just with you.
That was the blonde Powerpuff.
Right, I just like.
Buttercup, right?
Sure. I know like.
I can't remember. What were their names again?
I know like Jim Kelly, Play, Melvin Van Peebles. Just if they in the room, I got to. If they what they I got to. All right, they coming in with their people. Oh shit! I guess I jump on him because Lynn going. Oh Lord, I can't believe Timok came in here with two other dudes. Certainly, Lynn can't be in here with Timok. He's got Timok beef. I don't know. But that's my man. So I guess.
I got no beef with Timok.
Come on, go on. Look, I just try and be a team player. Go ahead. Come on.
All right.
Thank
you for your emails, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to have your thoughts, hear your thoughts shared here aloud on the Micheaux Mission, write us an email at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. And if you really want to help our show, just like our good friend Michael suggested,
yes, sir.
Feel free to give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And please tell a friend about our show. Tell a friend about the podcast. Tell them about the YouTube show so they can be here on time every Tuesday at 7 p.m. like Terry to watch us as we stream live. And they can hit the bell and subscribe and be notified when we go live every Tuesday. And also check out all of the shorts and edited clips that we put out throughout the week. All right? Okie dokie. It's now time, Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
It took 1 week off.
All right.
But it's back.
Now it's well rested.
It is time for the top 5.
Top 5. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is.
Top 5, ladies and gentlemen, where I give Vincent a list and he gives us his scintillating commentary on said list.
Scintillating.
It is scintillating. I like to think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just realizing I made a mistake on the top 5.
Uh-oh.
I have all of my information here, except for number 5.
Well, then, hey, freestyle it. Maybe we'll fill in the information. What is it? What's the list? What's the list title?
The title of this list, keeping it in theme, as
Okay.
we're going to be focusing in April on the works of Afrofuturism,
Yes.
Black sci-fi. What I have done was thinking about Black animation specifically,
Okay.
right? Over the last 24 years, so 21st century.
Okay.
Okay. And I wondered in that space, which often does deal with futuristic characters, right? Who would like what characters? If we were to pull from all black animation, if we were to put them into one team, like a Justice League, but only from 21st century.
Only from 21st century.
Black animation.
So Black Vulcan is not.
He is
eligible.
not there. Who would be the Blackest League Assemble?
The Blackest League assembled. All right.
TV edition.
TV edition.
So
Okay.
only from television.
Only from television.
Which means that Spider-Man,
Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Miles Morales, is not in the running.
Sure. Okay. All right. Off the table.
Right?
All right.
All right. Now, I said there, and thank you, Dylan. Dylan put up on the screen the person that I have designated as number 5, so I'll read them as number 5,
Okay.
which I believe means that instead of getting 5, I may have only gotten 4.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll add 1. Number 1.
Which is good because I actually know who I would actually prefer for my number 1 to be.
All right.
But number 5
Number 5.
would be Cyborg
Cyborg.
of
Absolutely.
Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cyborg is laid back, half teen, half robot who's more interested in pizza and video games than in fighting crime. However, he does not suffer fools. And while he is constantly getting on his fellow Titans' nerves with his unbearable shouting and slothlessness, he always comes through in the clutch in times of danger. His technological intellect is invaluable, providing the team with their vehicles and weapons galore. And even more priceless are his extensive combat and tactical skills. So Cyborg would be number 5.
I love Teen Titans Go Cyborg. I love Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, I
fun
love Teen
series.
Titans Go. And, you know, I also love how angry it makes some of our fellow nerds.
That you liked. Did you
We're not taking it seriously.
Well, considering that is, while it's not a spin-off, but it is kind of like a derivative of the Teen Titans series that preceded it.
Yes.
That was also well liked.
I mean, if we have an opening, I'd put Cyborg from that on the list on here because they're 2 separate characters.
They're totally 2 separate characters. Totally
Yeah.
two separate characters.
But yeah, I love Cyborg.
There you go.
Waffles, waffles, waffles.
Waffles, waffles, waffles. Okay. Number 4
Number 4.
would be Virgil Hawkins, a.k.a. Static,
Interesting.
from the TV show Static Shock.
Is that the 21st century?
2000s.
Wow. Then absolutely.
The show revolves around Virgil Hawkins, a 14-year-old boy who uses the secret identity of Static after exposure to a mutagen gas during a gang fight, which gives him electromagnetic powers. It was the first time that an African-American superhero was the titular character of their own broadcast animation series. The show approached several social issues, which was positively received by most television critics and nominated for numerous awards, including a Daytime Emmy. And the popularity revived interest in the original Milestone comic and introduced Dwayne McDuffie, Static's creator, to the animation industry.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Now,
Come on. Love Static.
were you a fan of? I know you like the character.
Oh, the comics?
yeah, because of the
Character? Yeah, absolutely.
But were you a fan of the show?
I was.
I couldn't get into the show.
Why not?
I think my main reason for not getting into the show is because I'm an animation guy. So it's got the animation has to speak to me, and
Sure.
I didn't really like the animation.
It was a downgrade. You know, quite honestly, anyone who's making cartoons during the Justice League Unlimited moment suffered in comparison.
Right.
And then the fact that he was sort of tangentially in the animated universe
Yeah.
didn't help. But yeah, I love Static.
All right.
Yeah, I loved it.
Well, he's number 4.
All right. Yeah, good list.
All right. I'm wondering if my mistake is missing number 3. Can you flash on the screen who you're showing as number 3, Dylan? Because I think that may be the one that I'm missing. Because my number 2 is definitively my number 2.
Definitively a number 2.
Right, and I think I may have just missed putting in my number 3 here.
Missed number 3.
Yeah. Yep, that's who it was. I thought that's what it was. Because number 3 is Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite.
From Black Dynamite.
From Black Dynamite. You could have 5 characters from Black Dynamite.
And it could have been a whole league.
You had Black Dynamite. You had Cream Corn.
Yep.
You have that old Bullhorn.
Mm-hmm.
You have a Honeybee.
Yes.
And then rounding it out would, of course, be Chocolate Giddy Up.
Yes.
See, there you go. That's 5 right there. That should have been your list.
See, but you can't. Because you still need superpowers. And as fly as all 5 of them are, Black Dynamite's the one that's got the superpowers.
The superpowers, right.
Because he Black Dynamite.
He's Black Dynamite. Yeah.
You know, maybe Chocolate Giddy Up got some
Chocolate
powers.
Giddy Up.
He got some.
Right.
He got
Crenshaw Pete got them hot ass hangers. Slot him in there. Crenshaw Pete and maybe Tasty Freeze and get in.
No. I don't think they don't make the cut. They don't make the cut.
Captain Kangaroo Pimp.
Nah.
He's a pimp that looks like Captain Kangaroo.
No. Okay. Maybe in the Unblack League.
The Unblack League, all right.
No, but not in the Blackest League assemble.
Okay.
No. Well, Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite, however.
From the animated series.
The animated series.
Which I would think, I'm not speaking heresy here, is better than the movie.
Yeah. But that's just saying how good the cartoon is.
I mean, it is amazing.
Because the movie is amazing.
The movie is amazing. The cartoon
is even more amazing.
It's even more. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And yes, Black Dynamite has the superpower.
Absolutely.
The fact that you could do a cartoon series, ladies and gentlemen, where this man is fighting for the children in the orphanage.
Orphanage is a home for whores and children. Whores and orphans.
And you do not, he does it with a straight face.
Yeah.
That is a superpower.
He actually fights O.J. Simpson in an episode.
He fights Michael Jackson in an episode.
Right. Michael Jackson.
He fights Kermit the Frog.
Kermit, yeah. That Frog Curtis.
That Frog
Curtis, actually. It's that Frog Curtis. We don't want no.
Oh, yeah.
Don't nobody want no smoke from the Sesame Street workshop.
Yes. So Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite.
Definitely number 3. So how's my league?
I'm trying to see who 1 and 2 are, because if Black Dynamite is 3,
he's number 3.
I got one that I can throw.
They're all a team.
A team, all right.
So, but Black Dynamite.
Right. So who's number 2?
Because he's our muscle.
He's a muscle. All right.
He's a muscle. You got the technological guy and Cyborg.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then you've got Static with the electricity.
He's got the electricity.
You know what I mean? He flies on this little, trash can lid. With this Black Dynamite is your muscle.
And Kung Fu.
Kung Fu,
Kung Fu.
nunchuckies, all the bullets.
Right.
But then, as much as he's the muscle, you still need a powerhouse.
You need a powerhouse.
You need a powerhouse on your team.
All right.
And there ain't nobody more powerful
than
my girl, Garnet, from Steven Universe.
Absolutely.
Garnet, ladies and gentlemen, from the animated Steven Universe cartoon series created by Rebecca Sugar. Based on the real-world mineral garnet, garnet is a gem, a fictional alien being that exists as a magical gemstone projecting a holographic body. She is, in fact, a fusion. 2 gems combining personalities and appearances as one shared holographic body formed by 2 gems named Ruby and Sapphire, who choose to remain permanently fused out of love for each other.
That's right.
Garnet was famously voiced by the British singer Estelle, and was the de facto leader of the Crystal Gems who protect humanity and Earth from danger. Garnet's stable relationship while fused is used as a metaphor for the power of healthy relationships, as Ruby and Sapphire together are stronger than any one gem on their own. Huge Steven Universe fan.
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out to my good friend Kennedy, who's the one that turned me on to that show. It's one of the smartest suggestions she ever made. And fell in love with, Garnett right from the door. Her story is a beautiful story because when the series started, you don't know that Garnett is a fusion.
Right, you actually spoiled it.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's like 15 years old.
I know.
But trust me, the road to finding that out,
Yeah.
and then everything that comes after that,
It is.
it is a magical journey.
Stronger Than You is one of my favorite songs. Right?
Stronger Than You, sung
Stronger
by
Than
Estelle.
You, sung by Estelle.
And sung specifically for Steven Universe, and now it is like a mainstay in Estelle when she does shows. Has to do it.
Love, 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 Garnet.
All right.
And number one.
Number one.
Let's see it. I'm assuming I know who this is, but I guess we'll see in a moment.
I don't think you know.
Okay, who's it going to be?
I'm pretty sure you don't, because number one
Uh-huh.
is a little controversial,
Okay, who we got?
but we need a leader.
Okay.
We need somebody who can rope in this staff group
Okay.
of Garnett, Black Dynamite,
Black Dynamite.
Cyborg,
And Static.
and Static Shock.
Okay, and who would that be?
And that is going to be one, Cornelius C. Fillmore from the show Fillmore,
That's a good pull.
about the seventh grader who was a juvenile delinquent with a record that was caught raiding the school's new chalk shipment. He was arrested and given a choice by the safety patrol officer who caught him: either help him solve another case or spend the rest of middle school in detention. Fillmore decides to help out, eventually joining the safety patrol. And then the show is based around him and his partner, Ingrid Third, voiced by Tara Strong, and called the Third throughout the movie, at X Middle School in the suburbs of Minnesota, where the show basically becomes like this cartoon satirization of police procedurals.
But 70s.
But 70s.
70s police procedure.
Yes, we're talking like the streets of San Francisco.
Mannix.
Yeah,
Barnaby Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, my mouth, man. I was about to say Barnaby Jones. And it's Fillmore, this black kid who's a little rough around the edges, but now he's just solving crimes. And you can't get over on him because he's where you were.
Yeah.
He knows exactly everything. He's like, I've seen this before. Like it takes no prisoners. He is no joke with his glasses and his baldy. Yo, Fillmore was ahead of his time. The series only lasted like 2 seasons, I think.
I don't even know who Fillmore was for.
I know.
Like, I was convinced that it was a fever dream and someone had made a cartoon just for me.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was like, I was like, do I owe the IRS money, or I don't have any children that I'm paying child support? Like you know how they talk about where they give away the Super Bowl tickets, and they arrest people who like owe back child support.
Yep.
That's what I felt like Fillmore was. I was like, is this a trap?
Fillmore was good, man. And hard to find.
Is it on Disney? It might be on Disney Plus.
Okay, if it is,
but you're right. For years it was.
For years, maybe.
Because for years, did I tell you about Fillmore?
You're the one that told me about it.
I was about to say,
years
because
ago.
I'm a Fillmore, and part of the reason I would tell people about Fillmore was to kind of make sure it actually existed. Like, I really did think, am I the only one that saw Fillmore? I love that damn Fillmore. So you didn't do Jon Stewart or Craig Williams from Craig of the Creek.
Now,
But I will let Fillmore stand.
Fillmore is there because Fillmore definitely he's a leader.
Oh, yeah.
He is a leader.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that he's grounded enough, but like I said, a little rough around the edges.
Right.
He
Black him up Cyborg and Black Dynamite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Garnett will have his respect.
Right.
And he'll, some of Static Shock's, being a kid.
Right.
He was like, yo, dog.
Right. Calm down.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Pour
Black Spider-Man before Black Spider-Man.
pour water on it.
Right, because he got like jokes in.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think
Fillmore's
Fillmore
good.
could work. Now, here's the reason why, because I'm glad you mentioned those two. Jon Stewart. Reason why I didn't do Jon Stewart, if you watch on all the episodes of Justice League, Jon Stewart, he's just a little bit too high-headed.
Yeah.
He's just a little bit too high-headed.
Right.
And sometimes just don't want to be listening.
You know.
You know what I mean?
I love Jon Stewart. But he's a cop.
And that's the other thing.
So he don't really know how to de-escalate.
That's the other thing.
Right.
Like, we don't need no black cop. Like,
Right.
like Fillmore is a safety patrol, but that's just because he's trying to get out of shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So we don't need no cop.
Yeah.
And now you're and my boy.
Yeah.
Yours first though. Again, another one you introduced me to.
I'll say, y'all don't know this, but I was obsessed with Craig of the Creek over the past 3 months.
Yes, and he got me in it because now this is how I spend my work days.
Look,
Craig of the Creek is up on the TV.
Imagine Game of Thrones, but with some little kids.
Yes, it is. It is 100%. And don't get me, but it's still happening now. So it's not Game of Thrones back.
Right.
It's not a period piece.
It's kids playing in the creek. It's right
in the
there
creek.
the title.
It's in the creek.
So they're in the woods.
Right. They're basically in the woods behind their house.
Yeah, having adventures.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what? Here, if you are a fan of comic strips, if you're a fan of Calvin and Hobbes, which always took place in the creek behind his back, imagine Calvin and Hobbes, and now it's just filled with a whole neighborhood of kids.
Right.
And Craig of the Creek,
Right.
the lead of this show, young black kid who is mapping the creek, leads his two best friends into misadventures and adventures all throughout the thing. Here's the reason why I didn't choose Craig. Love Craig.
Of course.
Craig messes up a lot.
Well, he's a kid.
Okay, well, he can't be.
He can't be.
We can't have.
Craig.
We can't have Craig and Static on the show.
Can't have Craig. All right. Okay, I'll allow it.
We can't. No.
allow it.
No, make Craig grow up.
Craig will grow up.
Craig of the college,
Right.
maybe.
Craig of the college. Craig of the college. Yeah.
Craig in the creek. No.
All right.
No. With everything that he's building,
Yeah.
he builds with cardboard and duct tape.
Sure. Did you finish it?
I'm in the last season now.
Okay. So you're at the heart of the force.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Craig of the Creek.
Craig of the Creek. So that's why he didn't make the cut.
Right.
But I was tempted.
The point is, go find Fillmore.
Yes.
And Craig of the Creek is actually around because that's on like HBO Max.
No, it's on. I watch it on Hulu.
And Hulu. Yeah.
Oh, is it on Hulu as well? I mean, no, I watch it on Hulu. I didn't know it was on.
It was on
Max.
HBO Max too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So.
But yeah, definitely go check out Fillmore first because Fillmore is actually I think only 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Craig of the Creek is 4 seasons and there's like about,
Right. Then there's a prequel movie.
yeah.
Like it really is an epic saga.
Yeah, and the 4 seasons are like about 40
I
episodes.
was about to say.
I was like, oh, we can't still be in season 2. Lord Jesus. But it's it's good watching. It's good watching, fun watching. All right, so that's my blackest league ever.
All right, Blackest League. Good league.
Thank you.
All right.
Now
It
is time for the Game of Kings.
Game of Kings.
As we move into
Because we're all black and animated.
the realm of 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin. Six Degrees of D'Urville Martin, ladies and gentlemen, where I give Vincent 2 actors and he has 6 films or less to connect them to the animated one, D'Urville Martin
D'Urville Martin.
of 70s fame. Keeping it in theme,
Okay. All right.
we are reviewing Needle in a Time Stack,
Okay. What's
which
the theme?
stars Leslie Odom Jr. And Cynthia Erivo. Vincent,
Yes.
in 6 films or less.
Okay.
Connect Derville Martin to
2.
Leslie Bibb,
Who was that?
a white woman.
Can I see her picture?
There's her picture.
Ah! I know who that is.
Yeah, I know you know her.
That's Mrs. Bobby. That's Ricky Bobby's wife. Named her child Walker and Texas Ranger because they're winners. If we wanted them to be losers, we would have named them Dr. Quinn and Medicine Woman. Oh, yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's Ricky Bobby's smoking hot wife. Woo, woo. All the money. Love the money. All right.
You remember her name in the movie?
What was her name? What was Ricky Bobby's smoking hot wife's name? Tammy?
Close. Carly.
Carly.
Carly Bobby.
Carly Bobby. Carly Bobby. Carly Bobby. That's right. The mother of Walker and Texas Ranger. Badass kids. I'm going to jump on you like a spider monkey. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew. All right. So Derville Martin is in Five on the Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams. Dick Anthony Williams is in Mo Better Blues with Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is in Philadelphia with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is in The Green Mile with Michael Clark Duncan, who portrays the pit boss in Talladega Nights, the ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Very good.
Because Ricky Bobby says, I want to hope you have sons, strong, beautiful sons, and they feel the pain of having their legs taken from them, which then upsets him. And he said, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Which is the funniest thing that Michael Clark Duncan has ever said in his entire life. And at least once a month I tell somebody, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. The point is, if you haven't watched Talladega Nights, the ballad of Ricky Bobby, you should. You still haven't watched it.
No, I've seen it. I said I've seen it.
Oh, I thought you were, yeah, I'm not watching it.
No, I've said I've seen it.
I'm Lennon. I reject joy.
I said I seen it. I said it was fine. I liked it. I didn't love it like you, but I liked it. Don't reject joy.
All right.
Boy. Anyway.
Well, I really thought you were going to pull Broadway actors. All right. Who else? Who we got?
I started to do Leslie Howard, but he's from the 40s.
Leslie Howard, who got caught up in the Red Scare?
I can't do that. All right.
Leslie Howard, are you a communist? All right.
Number two. In 6 films or less.
6 films or less.
Connect Derville Martin to
Cynthia
Rothrock.
What is that?
You don't know Cynthia Rothrock?
Did you know Cynthia Rothrock
Yes.
before you did this?
Yes.
Who is that, Lynn?
She's been like in a lot of action films. She was like one of the big she's like the big action woman of like the.
Is she the karate white woman from the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay, karate white woman from the 80s. All right. I mean, truth be told, though, most of her films were direct-to-video.
A lot of them.
Okay, all right.
Not all of them.
All right, yeah, but right, and none of her films were actually in the movies. Like, she was in...
the films that she was the lead.
Yes, exactly. Like, she's in Bloodsport, right?
Is she in Bloodsport?
She in Bloodsport?
I don't think she's in Bloodsport, no. She's not in Bloodsport.
Then she's in Street Fighter.
No, she's not in Street
No. You know, always it's like Bloodsport and what is it? Kickboxer. Are you sure she's not in Bloodsport?
I'm looking at her filmography right now. She's not in Bloodsport.
What is she with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Well, without knowing the movie, I don't see any of these movies that. Which one I think is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that she's in? Nope, that ain't it.
She's 100% in the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie because that's the only thing she would have been in that was in the movies.
No, she is not in. No, well, first, you're wrong because I just found a movie that I didn't know was in the theaters, but she was in, and it has bigger names than her in it. Wow, I don't see a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie on
I
here.
swore she was in one of them Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And she done played a white woman in Street Fighter.
Nope. Street Fighter is not on her filmography. So
Look up the film itself.
all right, let's do that.
And start with Bloodsport.
So let's look up Bloodsport first, okay? Bloodsport from 1988, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Forrest Whitaker.
Damn, Forrest Whitaker was in Bloodsport?
I think the person you might be thinking of is, Leah Ayres, who plays Janice Kent in Bloodsport, and who was a was a yoga teacher. Is that who you're thinking about?
No.
That's
I'm thinking about the woman you just...
That's the only other woman. That's the woman.
What is she in that was in the movies?
Well, let me go back.
Like, how you pull this person?
It was a Cynthia.
So, like Cynthia Nixon, you just skipped right over... Like, you just skipped over somebody who's an actual actress?
I wanted it to be... Cynthia Nixon would have been easy.
Right, so you...
That would have been easy.
So
and Cynthia Nixon, even though I think she would have been easy, my first thing goes to TV.
Right. I mean, I would just went to the Sex and the City movie. What would she have been in that was in the movies?
She was in a movie from 1996, An Eye for an Eye, which stars Sally Field and Kiefer Sutherland.
How in the world is
know.
she in an eye for with Kiefer Sutherland?
I know.
And Sally Field.
Directed by John Schlesinger.
Are you sure this is the same woman?
It's the same one. It's in our filmography. I'm looking at it. I'm looking dead at it. You think I would? Why would I lie about this? Who's going to lie about these things?
We'll find it with Kiefer's. How's she in a non-kung fu movie?
I mean, that's not. That's,
Like, do you look this stuff up?
like I'm talking about.
Like, you just pick somebody. You don't even look and see a viable path. You just kind of pull somebody.
No, honestly,
Like, you can't pick somebody that you ain't never heard of.
no, that's not true. The reason why, honestly, I made a mistake. I will. It's my night for mistakes. Y'all just don't
Right.
know.
So now I got to figure out your mistake.
No. There was the movie that I actually thought was released directly into theaters.
Was what?
Martial Law.
Why would you think that was released in the theaters?
Because I actually thought that was a not Jean-Claude Van Damme. What's his other name? What's a tall boy? Steven
Seagal.
I thought it was a Steven Seagal movie. I was like, oh, she was in that.
Yeah, you're thinking about. He may have had a movie called Martial Law.
But when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a connection.
All right. Well, look, Kiefer.
But it's not.
All right. So
That's not it.
Fine. So Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, this is the most rando person of all time.
But also another thing. With all due respect, in all honesty, I thought because of your love of like kind of like genre flicks,
right,
that Cynthia Rothrock might be somebody that you. Who knows what you're pulling out of this nerd brain of yours?
No. She's like Billy Blanks.
Exactly.
Like she's never actually on screen, and I did think she was in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Like if I saw her on a big screen, I thought I would see her with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, but Vincent, we all know Billy Blanks. You know Billy Blank's movie titles.
Right.
Nobody knows Billy Blank
All
movie
right.
titles. So
Look,
who's not to think if you know Billy Blank movie titles, I think you know Cynthia Rothrock movie title.
Look, okay, so D'Urville Martin. D'Urville Martin is in the final come down with Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams is in Batman 89 with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson is in A Few Good Men with Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland is in a film that no one has ever heard of with the 80s white woman who used to do karate in the direct-to-video films that would come on Cinemax at 3 a.m. when I'd come in and I was too hopped up to go to bed. And somehow my 11-year-old brother who never went to sleep was also up, and we'd sit and we'd watch her, and the whole conceit of the film was, ooh, it's a white lady doing karate. And we would watch White Lady Does Karate 7, Final Revenge. But no, apparently she was in the movie with Kiefer Sutherland and Sally Fields that no one has ever heard of. How's that? How'd I do?
I wasn't even listening.
Like I'm just like the circus gimp. I'll just say, toss him a banana. He'll figure it out. Just put your hand in a hat and pull out a name.
Lady Dragon was released in theaters.
What theater was Lady Dragon released in?
I saw Lady Dragon in the theaters.
No, you did not.
I did so.
What year is Lady Dragon? 1980 what?
I didn't see it.
Right.
It came out in 92.
Lady Dragon was released in.
I feel like I saw one of her movies in the theater.
Stop. No, you didn't.
I feel like I did.
You saw it on Cinemax at 3 a.m. when you came in from being out. And you couldn't go to sleep.
I don't know.
You like made a sandwich and turned on the TV, and then she had on like a velour sweatsuit.
She was in the Super Cop. She was in Yes, Madam, aka the Super Cops with Michelle Yeoh.
You know what? She sure was in Super Cops. She sure was.
That was released at theaters.
Not over here.
Wasn't it?
I don't think Super
No,
Cops.
yeah,
Super Cops.
Maybe it wasn't released.
Yeah, it
there,
wasn't
but
released
I saw
over
it
here.
I saw it in a theater.
In a second run theater
Yeah,
that showed karate
yeah.
movies. But yeah, none of those early Michelle Yeoh, Jackie Chan movies were in the theater here. But she was in Super Cop because she played the young white woman who knew karate.
Right.
Like that was her whole deal. Like
that's
that
her whole
was
deal.
that was her whole hook. I'm a blonde-haired white woman that can do a modicum of karate.
Wow. She didn't do any film with Steven Seagal.
No, and I was gonna say that.
I mean, or Van Damme.
She wasn't big enough to do anything with Steven Seagal.
Or Van Damme.
I could have swore she was in one of them Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Oh, so you wanted to look up Street Fighter, right? Like who was the woman
Like
in
Street Fighter?
Like Street Fighter, I feel like
What are his big ones? It's like Bloodsport, Street Fighter, and like Kickboxer. Right? Like Kickboxer. And she won in any of those?
no. She's not.
It could not have been two white women doing karate. This is where we are in our lives.
Kylie Minogue is the white woman in Street Fighter.
And she's not the love interest. She's actually doing karate too.
Is she? I don't know. I
don't know. Like I don't know these. Why would I have known these people's names?
I mean, it's a cult favorite.
Yeah.
But Cynthia Rothrock.
Street Fighter, I think sometimes you can actually see the cocaine falling out of Jean-Claude Van Damme's nose in certain parts of it.
Everybody loves the movie because of Raul Julia.
Right.
Unfortunately, his final role.
His final film is. That's why you gotta be careful about what you do. You never know what your final statement's going to be.
I know.
You'll be Raw Julie in Street Fighter in that stupid hat.
I know. Who died after doing Caligula? Didn't somebody die right after doing Caligula? One of them old British guys.
Yeah, he sure did.
I think it's like that was his last movie.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, at least it's Caligula.
What do you mean at least?
I mean, at least it's sort of
a notorious
right, it's,
film.
It's the most prestigious porno ever made. Yeah, but you know, Street Fighter.
I wouldn't bastardize the word prestigious by aligning that with Caligula.
I'm just saying, they had a budget. Like, it was a budget.
I wouldn't put that
It was a,
side by side with Caligula.
you know.
Prestigious parents are like, yo.
They spent like $10,000 on baby oil. Have you ever seen the unrated one?
Yes.
I have not. Like, I remember watching it, and then they said, you know, it's an unrated one. I was like, what else are they doing in the unrated one?
Want me to tell you?
Sure. Sure. I'm never going to watch it, but.
Because I can't, because I've only really watched the unrated one more than once. So I think the unrated one is the one where he punches the horse puts his hand in the horse's ass.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Because the orgy is in both.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, the orgy's in both.
That's the whole point.
So I think it's about him putting his fist in the horse's ass.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff I can't remember.
Okay.
There's some wild shit.
Yeah, Caligula. All right. Well, there you go.
All right. Well,
that's the only Cynthia you could find. That's the only actress whose name is Cynthia you could find.
Well, the only one you could come up with was Cynthia Nixon, and like I said, she would have been too easy.
Yeah, she'd have been too easy. All right.
Who else can you think of?
I mean, I can't think of him because that's not my part of this bit.
Exactly.
Like, your part of the bit is to find them.
And to also stump you.
Right. Well, you certainly stumped
You've been
me.
stumped.
Yes, with the white kung fu lady.
And who would have thought the white kung fu lady would stump you?
Look.
Mr. Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks. Well, you know, Billy Blanks is a cultural icon. He did Tabo.
That's a shame. Cynthia's mad at that. Billy Blanks getting more for his signature than I am.
No.
I know she mad. I would be someplace heated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. It's time for us to get into our review here for Octavia April of Needle in a Time Stack. I'm ready when you are.
Needle in the Time Stack, a 2021 American romantic sci-fi film written and directed by John Ridley and based on a short story of the same name by science fiction writer Robert Silverberg, stars Leslie Odom, Frida Pinto, Cynthia Erivo, Orlando Bloom, and Jaden Wong. In the near future, time jaunting, or time travel, is possible for the very rich. Time shifts that result from these time jumps are commonplace, and whole industries have risen up to help people store their memories. Nick Mickelson, played by Odom, is an architect married to Janine, played by Erivo, a photographer. They seem happy, but after being struck by the third time shift in a year, Nick starts to feel something is off. Needle in a Time Stack, 2021, directed and written by John Ridley. Here, the second week of Octavia. Third week of Octavia April is the choice of Lynn Webb. Lynn, what would you like to say about Needle in a Time Stack?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is about the idea of marrying romance with science fiction, or in this case, you know, in Octavia April, Afrofuturism. Mm-hmm. Even though this is more just strictly science fiction than Afrofuturism itself. And the idea of marrying those two things offers itself up for a world of possibilities. Because when you think about romance, when you think about the idea of what love represents in your life, it is all about the possibilities that it creates. It's all about the story that love begins to tell on your life as you take your life and blend it with someone else to create a whole new life of its own. And marrying that with science fiction is interesting because there's someone who would argue love is science fiction.
It does seem like it should work.
It doesn't seem like that math don't math.
Yeah.
You know, like
Absolutely.
They'll make what you and you this how. You know, where is the alchemy? And yet it somehow does come together and create something extraordinary in most cases, and that moves on. Now you layer on top of that the idea that, you know, it's if you're a fan of like Marvel movies or genre fiction right now, you've been introduced to the idea of the multiverse in almost every form of genre, television, or movies in the last 10 years, which is all about the possibilities of changing one circumstance. You know, the spider doesn't bite Peter Parker, it bites Gwen Stacy. The spider gets knocked from Peter Parker and it somehow bites Miles Morales. You know, the Flash, you know, saves his mother from being killed, and now his whole future is, it's all about what happens if you just pull apart one moment in time. The mind boggles of where that can take a story. And this movie, beautiful with the title, Needle in a Time Stack. We've all heard about how hard it is to find a needle in a haystack. That is the saying that is playing off of. You know, it's very hard to find like a small needle in a haystack, but if you find it, it makes a big difference. If you're in that haystack, you'll find that needle because it'll ow. And this movie suggests what happens if just one little thing changes in your past and the ripple effects of that in the life going forward, or the butterfly effect of what that means going forward, to reference another piece of IP that is played along these same lines, right? There are other pieces of IP that are played along these same lines as well, but that's the first one that is coming to my mind. This movie suggests that Leslie Odom and Cynthia Erivo in the beginning of this movie were meant to be. They were meant to be a couple, but for some reason they have these lingering doubts about, you know, how solid the foundation of their life is. They've got a beautiful home. They seem to be very successful. Him as an architect, her as a photographer. They have a lovely dog named Charlie that they both adore. They love one another. They were destined to be. And you're introduced into this life, and you're like, okay, this seems kind of cool. And then somewhere along the lines, about 10 to 15 minutes into the movie, maybe even a little longer, there is, all of a sudden you hear talk of a time wave or time being changed in some way. And that concept of time travel being something that people can do if they have enough money. Time travel has been commodified to a degree that if you are rich enough, you can actually just walk back in time. You can go into a room and go back in time and change, and despite some type of rules they tell you, you can actually, the idea is that you can relive a memory, but you could also kind of start messing with stuff. And you're introduced to the concept that there was someone who was an old friend of Leslie's named Tommy, who at one time was also married to Cynthia Erivo's character, who is now still longing for his ex-wife, is going back and subtly just changing things. And you're like, I don't know. Okay, it sounds interesting. Let's see where this is going. And sure enough, a time wave comes and it changes things. But everything still seems the same. They talk to one another. They recognize one another. They still remember one another. They're still in love. It's like, okay, well, I guess we survived that one. And now they go on about their separate ways, and they say goodbye to Charlie, who is now no longer a dog. Charlie is a cat. Ah, a change. You see that there is a change. And as the fuzziness in their head starts to percolating, especially in Leslie Odom's character's head, he begins to realize, I think your ex-husband is messing with us. I think he is trying to change us. She agrees with him, but there's nothing that we can do about that. So she says, don't do anything about it. So then we are just left to deal with Leslie Odom dealing with this crazy feeling in the back of his head that he tells his sister about. She is saying that, don't even really worry about it. He goes on about his life until, sure enough, a time swipe comes, changes everything. They're no longer married. He is now married to his ex-girlfriend, and Tommy has Cynthia back. And now he has to find his way back to Cynthia. And how is he going to make his way back to it? Sounds like a very interesting story. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a outline for an interesting exploration of a romance, of what two people mean to each other, about the inevitability of being together, mm-hmm, and finding your way there in some way, somehow, despite all the forces that may be against you. And you're sitting down to watch this movie that has cast Leslie Odom Jr., who a captivating actor.
Absolutely.
And Cynthia Erivo, just as captivating. Mm-hmm. Extremely talented actors who have reasonably good chemistry with one another. You believe that they are in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So you're sitting down to see, how are these two people going to fight their way back to one another? Mm-hmm. Tommy, the antagonist in this, played by Orlando Bloom, and nothing says evil than a young white British guy.
Right.
And especially because it's Orlando Bloom, so it's like, oh, it's Legolas, but you're so bad.
Yeah.
He's so bad. I say that because the script says that he's so bad. He is a guy that is lovesick for his ex-wife.
Yeah.
It's really what he is.
Yeah.
And you could argue that maybe if he was Leslie's character, he'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Trying to change things because I need to get this back. So you're wondering, okay, how are they going to fight the forces against this guy? You're sitting down, boom, I'm ready for this. And unfortunately, as great as a premise as that is set up by Robert Silverberg in the short story of this movie, in the adaptation that John Ridley has written and directed, none of that plays out. Because this movie does not care about Cynthia Erivo's character. She is merely just a pawn between these two men. Mm-hmm. She disappears from the movie for long pieces of time.
Oh yeah,
She literally like disappears, and when she comes back, it's really just to say one line and just keep it moving. You're not ever introduced to any of her inner monologue, inner thoughts. Mm-hmm. You don't know whether or not she is pining for him.
Sure.
You never find that out whatsoever. You're introduced in the beginning of this movie to the idea that Leslie Odom's character has an ex-girlfriend,
right,
that he had left right before meeting Cynthia's character.
Right.
And now, after this time jaunt, as they call it, he's married to her. That's played by Frida Pinto, who, believe it or not, is second billing in this movie.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it if you're thinking about the name of Leslie Odom,
sure,
and Cynthia Erivo and Orlando Bloom in 2021. But Frida Pinto has second billing, and maybe she does because she does spend a fair amount of the movie.
Once you see the film,
yeah. Once she shows up, she's there for a good bit of the time.
Yeah, oh yeah,
because she spends her time with Leslie Odom's character because in their marriage. But that's because Leslie Odom is trying to figure out why doesn't this feel right? Mm-hmm. Because this movie is more interested in his feeling.
Yes,
this movie is almost 100% his point of view of this broken romance. So, and the one thing about a good romantic movie is that you need both people's point of view. Mm-hmm. You need to care about the two people involved in the romance. Mm-hmm. And the only other person you are given any opportunity to care anything about is Orlando Bloom's character. Mm-hmm. And his fight for why he wants to rearrange things so that he can get back with Cynthia Erivo's character, and the how things play out in the end when he realizes where he actually should be. Mm-hmm. We'll spoil it, but later. That's the only character you're really introduced to, given any idea of what's going on with inside their mind. There's only ever really an exploration between Orlando Bloom and Leslie's character of how they feel with one another and how they deal with one another. Again, not a bad dynamic, but this is a romantic film first and foremost. It does not care about the two women involved in this romance at all. They are merely just chess pieces to move around the board as John Ridley sees fit in the story. And that makes, unfortunately, for a disappointing movie for me. It makes for a movie that, okay, if you don't care about the characters, then why should I care about the characters? And it then has me, if I don't care about the characters, now I'm watching and I'm focusing on everything else. Mm-hmm. And I'm focusing on how sterile this environment looks like. Mm-hmm. This entire movie. No, there's not one set on this character in this movie that feels like it's a real place. When people are in their homes, they feel like they're in stage rooms. I mean like right out of Better Homes and Gardens. Mm-hmm. There's no personality whatsoever. And I understand this is kind of like the not too distant future that it's supposed to be presenting.
Yeah. But
still, a life that has been brought together, you want to see that life. You should feel the life in the room in which these people are occupied. You don't see it whatsoever. It's so cold and sterile. The movie is very slow. Mm-hmm. And probably a good half hour too long.
Absolutely.
And just unfortunately just a waste of a missed opportunity. John Ridley, not a bad screenwriter, it's not a badly directed movie, but I just don't think it comes together. John Ridley, you've seen him nominated for screenplay for 12 Years a Slave. He is actually the writer and director of the upcoming Netflix film Shirley. It's done some work in comic books as well. He is a writer of some renown. But on this one, this is not his A game. And I wanted to give this movie a bit of a pass because it's from 2021, which means that it was filmed at the height of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So it probably had some challenges. I couldn't find anything that spoke to necessarily challenges in the filming of it, but it probably did have, I would imagine it did have some challenges with, how the world was.
Right, just the logistics
and things like that.
And yeah.
But it's outside of the 4 actors that I mentioned, there maybe are 5 other people in the
just
movie.
Extras sometimes.
Yeah, so the logistics, shouldn't have been that hard to juggle. And to be quiet as kept, when you're dealing with a romance, if you cut out all of the BS, that's the invitation to focus on the love. To focus on the love story that this movie purports to be about and tries very hard to be about. It tries to end on this very strong love note that just falls flat because at the end you don't care about anything except getting to the final credits because the movie is way too long. And it's a shame because I really went in wanting to like this movie so much, but it's just too long, too slow, and just a waste.
I agree with almost everything you just said about the characterization and the way the actors are used. One thing I do disagree with you, I actually think that Nick and Cynthia Erivo's character's name was
he was Nick.
He was Nick because he's, the film is in 3 sections and he's the only character. Janine. I actually thought Nick and Janine's home was warm. Like I actually it felt like a house to me. With the art on the wall and various pieces of furniture and even the color scheme. Like it felt very cool. But it also seemed like the type of place that an upper middle class, very well educated, no children having, uber successful couple would have. Like it was just like, wow, this is a cool ass house. Well, yeah, I'm a photographer. He's an architect. It's like, oh yeah, this is a cool ass house. But your critique of the use of Cynthia Erivo in this film and how she is basically an object is 100% accurate. But I view it in a larger context of these love stories that we talk about where you could say the same exact, you could have the exact same critique of Naomi Harris in My Beloved Swan Song or Kerry Washington in My Beloved Django Unchained.
Okay.
I think that this is a film like those films that is from the viewpoint of this male character trying to get this woman. And not to put too fond of a point on it, but as I just referenced Django and Swan Song, I don't think, for all we talk about these love stories and we talk about the great black romances and this, that, and the other, we've talked about this before. Quiet as is kept, I think the great black romances that we talk about oftentimes are super problematic. So that a film where a black man and a white man are fighting using considerable, as you said, it's super expensive to do this time travel. You get the sense when the film starts that this has been ongoing over a woman who looks like Cynthia Erivo. a dark-skinned black woman with a short natural. From jump, I'm already in the bag for it. Like, I'll just full disclosure, I'm already in the bag for it, because anytime a black man is going above and beyond for a black woman on film, it's not that many examples of it, frankly.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
And certainly, again, a black woman who looks like Cynthia Erivo. So there's that. I think Leslie Odom was a strong enough character that you know, as you said, you have these, we see 3 time slips, and the only consistent characters that we see, like Leslie Odom is on screen 90% of the time that we watch this film. If anything, it was kind of a bait and switch. Like, you look at the posters and it's Cynthia Erivo and it's Leslie Odom, and as you said, you think it's going to be this great romance between the two of them, and it's not. It really is Leslie Odom's character Nick trying to get to her. So just right there, I like it. The logistics of the time travel, you know, just the sci-fi nerd in me, I like the little details, like time travel was something that was only for the rich, and that sort of these cultural shifts had happened, where, you know, people kind of have protocols for when the time shift happens. Like, everybody calls their loved ones to make sure nothing has shifted. And, you know, of course, basically an insurance agency has popped up that can protect your memories. And I like that as well. I actually like the fact that the conflict, and you sort of alluded to that when you said Orlando Bloom's character is the antagonist. But I love the fact that as the film goes on, he's not a villain.
No, yes.
Like, you know, I love the fact that these are 2 men who find themselves at opposite ends because they love this woman. And frankly, the fact that he's not a bad person, I thought, was a wonderful reflection of Janine. Because if Janine had fallen in love with somebody who would just kind of run over people's lives and stuff, what does that say about her? And how is she a judge of character? So I like that. I have to say, my favorite part, you talked about, I just forgot the actress's name.
Frida Pinto.
Frida Pinto getting second billing. And certainly when these names that you said, it seems like she shouldn't be, you know, but watching this film, I absolutely think she deserves second billing because her character, Alex, I thought was a great character. Like, this woman who's kind of caught in this. And then my favorite part of the film is the fact that Nick and Alex, after the time shift happens and now he's not with Janine, the great love of his life, he's with Alex. This is a good relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I love the fact that he doesn't, that he isn't resisting this relationship with Alex because this is bad. It's just not the right one. So that you had this wonderful kind of quiet exploration of what does being in love mean? Like, what does being in love mean? And again, this sense that if you don't find the person, like the person that you're meant to be with,
You're right.
it doesn't mean that your life is going to be, you know, you're going to have an eye patch and society's going to fall and you're going to be in the forest eating squirrel meat. Like, you might have a pretty good life. It's just not the life. And the fact that this character, Nick, kind of has this through line where he knows, you know, again, this is a good life, but this isn't the life that I'm meant to have. that it worked for me. Like it worked for me that as this sort of quiet film. Now, it's absolutely a half hour too long. Like there's no question a half hour of this could have been chopped off at least. But I loved all the performances, including Orlando Bloom, who I have to say.
I like Orlando Bloom.
I have to say, I've never really thought of Orlando Bloom as an actor. Like I said, wow, Orlando Bloom is doing work here. I love Leslie Odom. Like I think John Ridley's instincts were right on to put this thing on Leslie Odom's shoulders. And he just carries this thing. Cynthia Erivo, look, man, unless Cynthia Erivo is in the entire film, you can argue that they wasted Cynthia Erivo. Like anything that Cynthia Erivo is in that she's not acting, singing, emoting, all this because it's Cynthia Erivo. So a disappointment that there's not more Cynthia Erivo is just frankly common sense. Because it's Cynthia Erivo, and of course Cynthia Erivo should be in it more because it's Cynthia Erivo. But I do. It worked for me.
See, it didn't work for me because, as you explained, Alex's character, Frida Pinto's character, and saying that you like the character. I like the actress. So what she's asked to do, she does well. But to me, she just gets the screen time that Cynthia Erivo should have gotten in this movie, but she's still not really given anything to do but to sit there and pine over, maybe things going wrong with her and Nick, and then when things turn right, feeling good about that, and then next thing you know, she's because of some time shenanigans,
right?
She's with Orlando Bloom's character, Tommy, at the end, and she's all good. She's all good there. So I don't think you ever really get an opportunity to explore even her thoughts in this movie.
It's not about her thoughts.
See, but you say that because the movie is about Nick. It's about Leslie Odom. But if you're not given any chance to really explore her thoughts or even give a thought about it, so now you're just focusing on Nick. Well, she spends a great deal of time with Nick, so we're not supposed to recognize the other person in the room. Let's worry about Nick. Okay. Well, what is Nick dealing with? Nick is dealing with his thoughts about Tommy. And at this point, he's not even sure of whether or not he wants to get...
He just knows something is off.
He just knows something is off. So we know that it has to do with Tommy, and he is starting to learn that it has to do with Tommy. Meanwhile, Tommy, the Orlando Bloom character, he's over in Cynthia Erivoville. He leads a lot of the movie. So the antagonist is even going from
because
the movie.
It's about Nick. It's almost a character study.
But it's a character study that wants to tell you what he's dealing with, and watch him contemplate dealing with this.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
But if I don't feel what you're going through, because I don't think the movie does a good job of illustrating that, it's telling me.
Oh, I felt Leslie Odom. I felt it.
I think he's a good actor, and I think what he is emoting well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it still didn't connect with me, because whatever tensions or frustrations or whatever he is feeling, I don't see them being in any way pressing upon him.
Oh yeah, I disagree. I do. Look, and look again. Leslie Odom makes or breaks this. But if you don't buy it, then obviously it breaks it. But I was with him, like I was with him from the I was with him with the frustration and the suspicion that he thought this ex was doing stuff.
I was there.
I was there with the feelings of betrayal when you find out what
Cynthia did.
what Janine is doing
Janine,
to try to
I was
undermine
there
this?
too, but I would have also wanted to see a little bit more of that flip side of why she was doing what she was doing.
Look, again, you want something that I don't think the film was that interested in. Like, I think this is Nick's film. Like, Needle in a Time Stack, which frankly I think is the dumbest title I've ever heard of.
I don't think it's
life.
an apt title. No.
It should have been called Nick of Time. See what I did? You see what I did? It should have been called Nick of Time, and Leslie Odom's face should have been on the poster. This was the Leslie Odom show. And I was there. Like, again, I love the subtlety of the story that Tommy didn't dick him. Like, he woke up in a new future and he was destitute, living in the alley, and the only friend he had was a rat that he named Charlie.
No, I
love the fact that Tommy sets him up. This is a good, and to your sterility critique, I thought that was reflected in their house, in Nick and Alex's house. Like, this felt like a sterile house.
yes. Well,
And I thought that was a reflection of the fact that he and Alex were good, but this isn't what was meant to be. Like to you know, like I said, the one direct thing that I disagree with you, even the use of lighting in Janine and Alex's house, you had all this warm sunlight. Janine and Nick's house, you know, you had all this warm sunlight and everything coming through. And then, you know, with Alex, it's just sort of sterile and washed. Like, it's a beautiful home, but it was so sterile. And it's like one piece of art's on the wall. And then, you know, of course, it kind of goes from there. So I bought it. I was fully on board with Leslie Odom's Nick kind of doing this journey. We haven't mentioned it. I also liked his relationship with his sister.
I love the relationship with his sister, and that's it. See, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because his relationship with his sister, and I think in a brilliant piece of casting by Jaden Wong as his sister Zoe, I think that relationship was really, really, really strong and well developed in this movie, and I felt that, and I felt tension on both sides, and I was invested in her story, and I think it's amazing that I'm invested in his sister's story more so than the other women in the romances in this movie.
Right. Look, man. Look, I'm generally never going to fight you, but so hard when we say something like the female characters don't have a lot of agency. The female characters don't have it. And generally, I'm 100% obviously aboard talking like that. But I do think that there is a space when we talk about how Black women are positioned in these films.
Okay.
That, again, I'm putting this with Django Unchained, where, again, Kerry Washington has maybe 4 scenes in the whole movie, and the movie's about Django going through hell. Naomi Harris, I think, has a considerable amount more to do than Cynthia Erivo or Kerry Washington in Swan Song. But even that, this is 100% the Mahershala Ali show, where he's doing this, trying to set this up for this woman. And yeah, in this is the Leslie Odom show that, yes, Cynthia Erivo is not much more than an object. She is a prize being fought over between these two men. You are 100% right with that assessment of her. And if there were 50 movies from now on where all Black women are cast as prizes sitting up on the shelf, and Black men are fighting to the death to get to her, and at some point you say, well, damn, can't she, don't she get to say something? Then I'd be with you. But because in the history of black films, in the 8 years you and I've been doing this, talking about it, you know, I'll play you from my heart, and then he plays her like he playing Norm Nixon or somebody, and you know, what about my old man? And Mahogany got to come back and give up her career to help his middling ass political career, and what was the other great black romance we always talk about, where it's like, damn, this, you know, The Photograph, and Issa Rae got to come and beg Lakeith Stanfield to be with her, and you know, god damn, this, like, I don't want my daughter to emulate any of this. This is all terrible. Yeah, I'll take this. But I guess the real question is, would you recommend this?
I would not recommend Needle in a Time Stack. I would not. No, I think it's a little bit way too long, too slow. So no, I regretfully would not recommend Needle in a Time Stack. Okay,
I would. I also think it's way too long, like I said. But regardless, I think the pluses really outweigh the minuses. I actually think it's a pretty smart film when we talk about time travel films and the way that actually looks, like the logistics of it. I love the performances. Certainly they could be there could, again, I'm never going to fight you about more Cynthia Erivo, but I think Leslie Odom is a strong enough actor, a strong enough presence, and just strong enough to carry this. So I would recommend it.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. But don't let us be your judge. Go check out Needle in a Time Stack streaming someplace near you right now. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week here in Octavia April, I invite you to follow the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, at Micheaux Mission. On Facebook, you can join our Facebook group and become one with all of our missionaries that enjoy talking about movies and TV and stuff in our Facebook group. You can also like and subscribe to the Micheaux Mission on YouTube. Hit the bell so you're notified of when we put up our edited content, films and shorts, and also be notified when we go live every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. right here from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. If you want to have yourself and your podcast here at the Young Junk Palace, email our man Dylan at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work, such as ours, who you can talk to directly by sending us an email at micheauxmission@gmail.com, micheauxmission@gmail.com. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission, in the 4th week of Octavia April, we will sit down with Vincent's Selection and watch Tiana Paris, Jamie Foxx, and John Boyega do work in They Cloned Tyrone. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, that's Dylan way over there, and in parting we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.